Hello, Vibers. Thank you so much for tuning into Northern Vibe. I've got a short but sweet one for you this afternoon. If you are interested in far north Queensland women making a difference, if you want to hear a discussion about how technology has and will continue to change the workplace, feminism, work, and its relationship with mothers, family, and men, from a successful far north Queensland woman who mixes motherhood with entrepreneurship, well, then you've come to the right place, because today I'm interviewing the magnificent Peace Mitchell, who is one of the founders of Ausmumpreneur. I never pronounce that correctly, but I'm doing my incompetent best. That's a company that supports mothers who want to create wealth for them and their families. It mixes motherhood, as the name says, with entrepreneurship. Again, short chat, around about 30 minutes. Please like, please share, please comment. I'm particularly interested in perspectives about this issue being raised. So I really want to hear from you. But without further ado from me, let's hear from my magnificent guest, Peace Mitchell. But all right, so you formed this amazing company, Mumpreneur.
Ausmumpreneur, yes.
Mate, tell us about it.
We were young mums ourselves with young kids, and we were stay-at-home mums, but we dreamt of something more. We knew that there was more out there for us. My sister and I have always been quite entrepreneurial and ambitious and big dreamers, and so we wanted to start our own business and have something amazing. And we tried running businesses before, but we found it was so isolating and we couldn't find the support that we needed. And it was really hard doing it on our own. And we knew that there would be other women just like us who were at home with young kids who needed that support and a community around them that they could reach out to and ask for advice and ask questions and just turn to when the times get tough, because in business, times get tough. And so that's where the idea for the community of Ausmumpreneur really started.
I find it really interesting that there's a lot of these community kind of things that are developing now. Just off on a very brief tangent, one of my other interviews is Sel Grover, who started up an app, Giggle for Women, which was basically a place where it's just an electronic space, I suppose, where women could get together and talk and discuss stuff and find accommodation and support each other generally with whatever it is that they're doing. So yeah, I mean, there's this real upswell of that kind of thing happening.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, as humans, we need connection. It's who we are. We need that support. We need people around us and people to talk to. It's not like into a community or, in any way like that. You can talk to people pretty much any time of the day, and they can be from anywhere in the world. And that's the beauty of online, I guess.
Okay. And how do people get onto it?
So we run the Ausmumpreneur Awards each year, annually, and we come together in person for that event in Melbourne this year. That's happening on the 14th and 15th of August. We also have a Facebook community where people join and ask questions and connect that way as well.
So it's mainly Facebook?
Other platforms, so we're at LinkedIn and Instagram, and even TikTok, and yeah, but Facebook is our main platform. It's kind of where we started, and it's where our community come together.
All right, so if people want to find you, they just got to search can you say that for me?
Ausmumpreneur, and we also have a Facebook group called the Women's Business Collective.
Thank you. and that's how they find you. But look, my wife is actually famous for saying, we don't have families to serve economies. We have economies to serve families. And the thing that I really, really like about this little group that you've formed is that I think it's going into a feminist trope that isn't anti-man and doesn't measure women. It doesn't measure women by the metrics of men, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, oh, we got to have quotas in the boardrooms. We've got to have quotas in parliament. And even to me, most importantly, cultural things that you see, like the movies like Wonder Woman 1984, which was just terrible. Is like, it? It's just like, you know, she's just Superman. And then there's new Star Wars movies with Rey, which is oh God, because I'm a Star Wars fan, it's just like, oh my God, that just kills me. But it's kind of like the thing that I don't like about the way, you know, the idea behind all those things is really it's diminishing, as I see, the distinctions and the real value of women.
Women who are mums, they love being with their kids and they're wanting that. And so the traditional workplace, the 9 to 5 model, the going into the office was never designed with motherhood in mind. It was never really designed with women in mind. It was originally created so that, you know, the women would stay home and care for the children and look after the house, and the men would go to work 9 to 5. And so that model doesn't work for families. And a lot of women try and fit into that model, particularly women who are working in corporate. And when they have their first child, they kind of can struggle along with it. But by the time the second child comes along, all of that juggling is just so hard, and they're looking for flexibility. They're looking for better options that work for themselves and their family. And so, you know, it's less about the men and women thing than about women trying to find that level of fulfillment and what works for them and their families, and wanting to be there and be present for their kids, but also wanting that personal fulfillment of following their dreams and their calling. And, you know, a lot of women have a really strong calling to make a difference in the world and do something that they're passionate about. And that shouldn't be swept aside because they want to be present with their kids and stay at home with their children. And so it's about balancing both of those things. And the word mumpreneur can be really polarizing, but I don't understand that. It doesn't need to be.
I'm not seeing that. Why and how? Seriously, like, can you explain that? Obviously, you've had some pushback.
Yeah, sometimes we get pushback, and I think it's perhaps from women who are working in the traditional environment where they don't have that flexibility and they're kind of wishing they did, or they're seeing that the word mumpreneur is diminishing. Like, why can't you just call yourself an entrepreneur? And of course we are entrepreneurs, but it's more about the lifestyle of being able to blend motherhood with entrepreneurship. And there's women all over Australia, all over the world, who are doing it really successfully. And I guess for us, Ausmumpreneur is about showing that it's possible and inspiring the other stay-at-home mums out there that if they've got a dream and they want to be with their kids, that it's possible. You can do it. So, yeah.
See, that's good too. And like, you know, purely from a, you know, selfish capitalist point of view, and I love the fact that stuff like this has come up. Like, it means that you're harnessing the intelligence, ability, and drive
absolutely
of people. Because, and again, like, I totally agree with my wife, who's sitting right next to me, actually. So if you see a hand come across, and that's probably, but like, and I'm not just saying this because she is here. I totally agree with that, with that maxim. But it is about getting it right, because like, you need to get the relationship right. It's like, yes, we don't have families to serve an economy, 100%. You know, we have an economy to serve families, but there's a reason we developed an economy. Like, you need to have that relationship. You know, you need a way of generating wealth. You need to generate a way of you know, a certain lifestyle, and, you know, a certain amount of food. And like you said, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs things, once those basic things have been taken care of, you need people to feel fulfilled and happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of the women out there are single mums, so their whole family is reliant on their income. They need to be working. So like, the idea of being a stay-at-home is a lovely idea, but in practical terms,
can't do it.
It's not, yeah, it just doesn't work for a lot of people. And so this gives them the opportunity to do something that fulfills them, but also contributes financially to their family's income. It's important, I think, to have that balance too. So yeah, a lot of women want to start something because they're trying to do good work in the world. So they're starting nonprofit organizations and things like that. But it's really important that we value women's work and that women are paid for the work that they're doing. And so we're very much about making sure women are paying themselves and, you know, running education programs and things like that, that encourage women to value themselves, to pay themselves, and to create a really stable financial model, as well as following their dreams and doing something that, you know, lights them up
Yeah,
and that they love.
100%, 100%. Look, how did you get this off the ground?
It's been a long time, but really, I think when we started back in 2009, it really was the start of social media. And so Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, platforms like that really helped us get off the ground with very low cost marketing in those early days when we needed to get the word out to the community. And because we were there at the start when mompreneurs were kind of becoming a thing, they were discovering online and they were setting up online businesses and all of those things. Women really just gravitated to us, and we grew really quickly because so many women were like us and they were looking for this. They were looking for a place where they could get the support and help to grow a business that would enable them to be at home with their kids.
Yeah, no, that's look, that's pretty cool. Can we go for a bit of a tangential conversation about social media, because there's been a lot of issues. Obviously, you know, social media has changed the world, and one of my other guests that I spoke to has suggested it's actually going to change human evolution. A really quick contextual, I know it's got like what, a really quick contextual understanding with that is like when human beings first started to utilize fire, because cooked meat is easier to digest, and it meant that you could put a lot more energy into your brain rather than digesting. So there's a really big discussion that the fact that human beings got this cultural, I suppose, adaptation to that meant that it impacted on our physiological evolution. Like if you think about that, that's absolutely amazing. And there's been a number of other instances, and I sincerely believe that that's going to happen with this new technology we have, especially social media and artificial intelligence. And obviously with AI, it's not just going to be a relationship between like how we use this stuff and that, but like, you know, we're going to get stuff planted in our heads soon. Like that's actually going to happen. Like really kind of, you know, that's so like what I'd like you to do is discuss what social media has been to you, the positives and the negatives, and how you see things panning out.
It's an interesting one because I do know that the levels of burnout have risen, the levels of mental health disorders have risen, and there's definitely correlations between social media, but also smartphones and email, and the fact that often people are working round the clock. Do you know what I mean? They're not just working 9 to 5 anymore. They're, you know, their emails are on their phone all day and all night. You can check emails at midnight, when you first wake up in the morning. And so if you don't have clear boundaries around social media, around work, then that is going to lead to burnout. And then, of course, we've seen so many cases of cyberbullying and problems like that are happening for young kids in particular. So, yeah, I think we need to be more conscious of how we're using technology overall, and we need to have better boundaries in place for, you know, digital use as a whole. So doing things
I totally agree with that. But I mean, one of the other interesting things is like, you know, when you read these discussions, well, online or on, because like I'm a Luddite, I still like reading actual newspapers and magazines. There tends to be a polarization, you know, this real binary. Oh, it's really good, or it's demonic. It's, you know, it's really, really bad. And like I used to, and I saw you snigger at that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I used to snigger at that too, but like again, one of the other conversations that I've had, and it was around artificial intelligence, and I'm going to get this guest back on actually.
Yeah.
Because the way AI works, so what we have is a disembodied intelligence, right? It's there living in a computer, and it's an algorithm. It's something that you can program. That's really not all that different to what a human being is, with the exception that we're embodied. So human beings are embodied intelligences, right? So you're going to be I can see a time where there are going to be these, and I mean this, and people are still sniggering at this now, but I suspect they won't be laughing at this within 3 to 5 years. where there will be these artificial intelligence that are either created by human beings or create themselves that manifest certain aspects of the human condition. So you might have a demon, like something that creates itself to be a malevolent spirit to undermine humanity. Angels, you might have that. You might have that kind of thing. You might, why wouldn't you? And why wouldn't these things become, fracture right down into stuff like, oh well, this thing sees itself and creates itself, or is created as a werewolf or a vampire or something. I mean, human beings are doing that. Like I'm sure you've seen that online, where you've got these, people who are identifying as werewolves or animals, or I mean,
Yeah.
non-artificial intelligence.
Currently we have hackers who can hack into things and cause chaos. And yeah, perhaps that's going to happen in the future with AI as well. That hackers will deliberately go into AI programs to create chaos and
Absolutely.
damage. So anything's possible. It's difficult to predict the future. And I guess all we can do is be really conscious of what we're consuming and how we're using the technology ourselves.
And also we've got to remember that it can be used to start up excellent stuff like, what you're doing. It's not this simplistic binary. I mean, it's like the Gutenberg printing press, really. I mean, the first thing that was, as you know, was published was the Bible, thank God. And it's, but like you can also use a printing press to print porn. Like, you know what I mean? It's, the press itself is neither good nor bad.
Exactly. Yeah, tech is just a tool and it's how we use it. And so for us building our business, it's been incredible. It's enabled us to do things and create the kind of business and lifestyle that our grandmothers could have only dreamt of. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have the ability to run online businesses that are reaching women all over the world, that are creating impact all over the world, and bringing women together who previously didn't have access to education and opportunities for running their own business and all of those things. So yeah, it is really powerful and really positive as well. And I think you have to balance that. Even this conversation that we're having now, this channel that you have is enabled by tech.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're able to talk about all these kind of things, and that's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's fantastic. And speaking of really, really positive things, can you tell me about the Changing the World Awards in London with the Duchess of York? I'm such a royalist
Yes.
to you,
Thank you. Yeah. So the Women Changing the World Awards, we held our first one last year, and the Duchess of York received the Golden Heart Award for the incredible work that she does. She does a lot of charitable work all over the world. She has her foundation, Sarah's Trust. And so we are delighted to be partnering with her this year for the Women Changing the World Awards, with Dr. Tererai Trent as well, who is an incredible woman from Zimbabwe, and Oprah calls her her all-time favorite guest. So yeah, and the vision for these awards is to recognize the unsung heroes. So the women who are out there doing the work, who have an incredible cause that they're getting behind. They're making a difference and creating really positive change in the world. So that could be in the environment, it could be in health, education, in business, can be charities, but also entrepreneurial ventures. They could be working in like a traditional job, a corporate role. And we're really wanting to elevate women and recognize women and create a platform for women who are making a difference in the world from everywhere. So women from, last year we had women from Zimbabwe attend, from America, all over Europe, Asia, Australia. Everybody flew to London to come together and celebrate the women who are changing the world. It was pretty powerful. And our vision for this is for it to be an incredible event and an incredible celebration of the women leaders of the world. So yeah, we're really excited about it. Nominations are open at the moment. They close on the 10th of March. And so if anybody watching knows an incredible woman who is changing the world, please nominate her, let her know how incredible she is, because so often women are, overlooked and undervalued and unappreciated. And it's really important to recognize the work that these women are doing.
On that, it's just flicked another quick question into my head. I really do think that you're at the leading edge of on a bit of a wave as to what's happening in our society. But what I find just as interesting is the wealth creating. Where do you think we're going to go? Because you're talking about, you know, the slight disintegration of the traditional ways we used to do things with corporate structures and creating wealth. In your opinion or experience, how are things changing, and what's the future going to look like a little bit when it comes to wealth creation, workplaces and stuff like that?
I would love to see more flexibility for men and for women. I think that that will make a huge difference to everybody. For example, in my own situation, my husband started working from home 3 years ago, where previously he's always had to go to work, leave home early in the morning, go to work all day, come home after 5. And the change that's happened within our family, just from that happening in the last 3 years, has been huge. You know, he's healthier now. He goes for walks the dog every morning. He goes rowing twice a week with his sister. He helps out more around the house because he's able to. He's there. He'll make the school lunches. He'll take my daughter to school in the morning, whereas he was never able to do that before when he was working. And so I can see tiny shifts and changes happening. You know, cultural change is slow and it takes a long time, but things like that happening, men having more flexibility, which enables women to have more flexibility, can make a big difference in the world. And so I think, you know, as difficult as COVID was, it has changed in some ways. Workplaces which before were like, no, there's no way we can ever offer you flexibility, are now starting to say, okay, well, perhaps we could, perhaps you can work from home 1 day a week, perhaps you can work these hours instead of, you know, the 9 to 5. And so, yeah, my dream is that we will continue to have that flexibility, that people can work in the way that works for them and their situation, because everyone's situation is different. And that's what I would love to see for the future, is more of a balance and more equality and more men and women both supporting each other to both share their dreams and reach their goals.
That resonates with me so much, because like a lot of the way that feminism is portrayed, and look, God alone knows what that means. I've actually had entire interviews as to what that meant. And at the end, we came to the conclusion is like, well, because there's no defining authority, like there's not like a pope of feminism. You know what I mean? Like even if you're not Catholic, you know, the Pope is going to influence Christianity. You know, the Catholic Church is going to, in a certain way, has a certain degree of authority, even outside of its ambits. So, you know, there's a definition of what it is. But that's just not true with feminism. Like it can mean you can project whatever it is that you want and what you believe it, you know, believe it to be. So you do see like and I've actually seen this like in my previous workplace, like without going into the precise details, where you get like legitimate misanthropy, like, you know, the hatred of men. But that's real. I'm telling you right now, you know, I get kind of like angry with people going, hey, and it's like, no, I've seen it. Like, and in fact, I've been on the receiving end of it, and it's not pretty. But you speaking about this idea of this partnership and working together, it's a really different conceptual framework to a way that a lot of feminism has been shown in the past. It's like, we are against men. We hate these guys. We want to beat, you know, we want to, it's like this zero sum game. We got to push them down so we can come up. It's like, no, like, you know, it's just like,
yeah, and it doesn't have to be like that. You know, I have 3 sons, so as well as a husband, as well as a father and brother and family members who are men. And so that's not what feminism is to me. But it is about teaching my sons how to be respectful of women, how to, and modeling for them. My husband and I have shown them, I hope, what it looks like to be a supportive team. You know, my husband and I are a team and we support each other to do the work that we do. And I hope that my sons have recognized that, and that when they get their partners, they'll recognize that, you know, it's for both people to be in charge of cleaning the house, and both people should be participating in raising the kids and caring for the children and making dinner every night. It's not up to the woman to be doing all of the washing and all of the cleaning and all of the cooking, because that's not fair. And so, yeah, I think feminism is about creating change in those kind of ways, which, you know, they seem like small things, but they're actually big things on a grander scale. It's about equality in the home, equality in the workplace, equality in leadership. It's not about women trying to take over the whole world and throw out all of the men in government. It's about women also having a say and having a voice and their ideas being heard as leaders equally with men. And we are seeing change. We are seeing progress. You know, I definitely know that that has happened. But in other areas, we still have a really long way to go. And one of those areas would be VC investing for founders. You know, women receive 2.7% of the VC funding. The vast majority of the funding still goes to men, and you know it's got worse in the last 3 years.
Sorry, what's VC funding?
So venture capital funding. So
right.
When you start a business and you're wanting to scale up and you go to investors for money, you are 97% less likely to get funding just because you're a woman founder. Right. So there are areas like that where we still need to work on solutions to how we're going to fix that and how we can work with male investors to get them to see the qualities that women founders have. So discrimination still exists, but I am hopeful, and I know that we've seen change. And I think that taking the approach of working together with men, having male champions who understand what's going on, having men like you inviting women onto their show to talk about these things is really important and really powerful. We can't achieve feminism on our own just as women. We need to work with men if we want to see equality. And I think creating more equality for men in things like flexibility and the way that men work benefits everyone.
Another exciting, cool thing is that you're also speaking at Tropical Writers, and I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so we love Cairns Tropical Writers Festival. So another thing that we do, we run Ausmumpreneur, we run the Women Changing the World Awards. We also have a publishing press. We publish books, Women Changing the World Press, books written by women thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and women changing the world. And so we're speaking at the Cairns Tropical Writers Festival about marketing your book and the business of books. So everything from the idea, how it's, you know, when you get the idea for your book and then making it into a book and the business of sellable product, so pitching it to the media, the press release, the book launch, and your ongoing marketing strategy once you get it into bookstores. So we're very excited to be presenting at Cairns Tropical Writers. We also are launching our latest book, which is Women Leading the Way. So we'll have some of our authors there. It's an anthology collection of 25 incredible women from around Australia and internationally. And we'll have some of those authors there on the day talking about their chapter.
Is there just a general message you'd like to give to the, the good listeners of Northern Vibe and
Well, we didn't talk on the fact that my sister and I are both from Innisfail. So we are running a business from this small farming town, but we had big ambitions and big dreams, and we're now running a global business from Innisfail. And so I guess my message to your viewers today would be, if you have a dream, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, if you have a dream and you believe in it, you should go for it. You should try it. So yeah, for anyone out there who's thinking about taking action on their dreams, my advice would be to go for it.
The thing I really liked most about that interview was this concept of the relationship between these two things that seem to be binary, male and female, work and home, entrepreneur and looking after the family. And I really, really liked the conceptualization that Peace has got, mixing these two things and first understanding that it just doesn't have to be that way. So a lot of it is about conceptual framework. And the other thing I really like about her is the thing that she pointed out at the end. She's just a normal lady living in far north Queensland, and yet she is running a global business. It's kicking bottom. It's winning awards. She's handing out all these awards. It's a win-win situation. Thank you so much for tuning into Northern Vibe. I've got two great interviews already recorded coming up for you. One is John Anderson, former Deputy Prime Minister, and the other one is Colin Lilly, a fantastic musician from the Northern Territory, who also happens to be Jacinta Price's husband. You'll really, really enjoy these ones. So make sure that you do tune in. If you want to come on Northern Vibe, you know anyone that should be coming on Northern Vibe, make sure you contact me. Again, thank you all so much. I'll see you all next week. Like,